Charles, laugh.
I know why you're laughing. I played in the NBA for 16 years, and I've been on TV for 18 years. It's the first time I ever heard police presence. Wait. They got a police presence? Are you kidding me?
See, these two, man.
Come on, man.
You know why they're laughing.
Come on, man.
Because they would.
Oh, man.
I don't know what this is. I don't know why.
Hello, police. Chris Paul trying to beat me up. This is Blake Griffin. Chris Paul trying to get in the locker room. Get down here and save me. Wait.
Welcome to SI Now. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Amy Campbell. We're going to talk Warriors-Cavs, rank the quarterbacks remaining in the NFL playoffs, after Tom Brady, of course, and discuss the newest sports power couple. But first, NBA beef.
Robin, normally the most dramatic part of Monday night is The Bachelor. This was next level.
No doubt about it. You heard the crew on TNT talking about it. As legend tells it, Clint Capella went to the front door of the Clippers locker room as Chris Paul led a group of Rockets, including James Harden and Trevor Ariza, through a connecting back hallway in an effort to confront Austin Rivers and Blake Griffin following Houston's loss to LA. Now, our own Lee Jenkins reports the confrontation was more about Ariza going after Griffin while being held back by teammates, but that didn't stop the memes and tweets. Personally, my favorite part of this is imagining the look on the Clippers players' faces when they realized Chris Paul was back in their locker room yelling at them again.
Oh my gosh, Robin, there are so many pieces to this story. It is so funny. It is so entertaining. This is probably my favorite out of all of them. Chris Paul's been digging this tunnel for years. There's a tunnel. There is a secret tunnel or back hallway that Chris Paul is going through. There's this Austin Rivers is the potential object of the conflict. He didn't even play in the game. He's on the sidelines in a boot talking trash. The jokes go on and on.
You know, Chris Paul is known as the prototypical floor general. If all of this was true as the tweets would tell it, it's hilarious to think of him, drawing this up in the locker room, saying, all right, Capella, you go to the front door.
You're going to be the diversion.
You're the diversion. They don't know about this secret back hallway. I do, of course. I played here for a long time, and we're going to ambush them. Wait till they get a load of this.
Also, this is the president of the Players Union creating this, or a part of this drama. The irony does not stop. I love what Bill Simmons said about that you're allowed to do this if it's Austin Rivers who is talking, and especially him who didn't even play in the game.
Yeah, the NBA is the best for social media, for this sort of drama and turmoil. I don't think you get that sort of battle map drawn up in any other sports league.
This is one of the most entertaining things I've seen in a long time. I love the drama. I need more drama in the NBA. It's so entertaining. The only thing I did not like about this was Mike D'Antoni, what he had to say to Blake Griffin. I thought that the coach should probably be a little bit more of a leader than that. But if all the kids want to get around and be goofy and play spy games on each other, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that beef is a fun one to think about, especially, of course, considering Chris Paul's past with the Clippers. Speaking of that, as far as what the players had to say about it, not much, though Paul may have thrown a little shade at his former teammate Blake Griffin with some praise he doled out after the game.
I don't know. They got Lou Will. You know what I mean? Lou Will is the guy. You know what I mean? That's the go-to guy, the guy that they should play through and stuff like that. He having a great year, and he tough, man. But they play the right way. They share the ball. They move the ball, and it's a good team over there.
Well, in the game we were expecting to be the most dramatic, the Cavs welcomed the Warriors in hopes of splitting that season series, and Golden State was just too much for Cleveland to overcome as the Cavs lost 118-108. They kept it close behind LeBron James' 36 points on 12 of 18, but the Warriors pulled away in the fourth. Their trio of Durant, Curry, Thompson combined for 72 points. We even had David West out there throwing dunks. Robin, do you think that any team can stop the Warriors?
Of course not. No, I mean, Kevin Durant ruined the NBA. Not in the sense where it's not the most entertaining sports league like we were just talking about it. I love it. The undercard is amazing. But the main event, we know what's going to happen. It's a fait accompli. He went to the best team of all time, record-wise. And Cavs-Warriors used to be fun. There used to be some drama. Now, if they played each other in a series, the question wouldn't be whether the Cavs can win the series. It would be whether they can win a game. Outside of LeBron James, there are 4 players on the Warriors better than the second best player on the Cavaliers. They are just so absurdly good, Golden State is. I mean, you have the defense with Draymond and what he can provide there, the ultimate 3-and-D guy in Klay Thompson. And then Durant and Curry are special freaks who alter a game individually. Nevertheless, putting the two of them together, it's just absurd. I think Boston might have the best chance, but if Golden State's healthy, no one's got a chance to beat them 4 times out of 7 games.
Yeah, well, after what we saw last night, I have even less faith in Cleveland. I know yesterday I sat here and I said, I'm tired of hearing this every January. Cleveland is going to be fine. But what stands out to me is you mentioned they do have LeBron James, the best player in the world, and we give him a lot of credit. But the rest of these guys are kind of all role players that are aging out. They play these smaller, slower, older lineups, and their defense is abysmal. They're not going to be able to stop anyone, especially not Golden State. But we are also hearing today a report coming out of Cleveland saying that there's some players who are feeling discontent, that they're feeling even further away from the chance to win a title. What do you make of that?
Well, they are further away. I mean, they're the oldest team in the league. They've got no chance against Golden State, like I was just saying, and they still got LeBron. Now, the question is, can they get there? I don't think so. I don't think they have the roster composition in place. They really are desperately lacking perimeter athletes and length on the perimeter. I see them linked to a lot of centers. That's not the answer. Like DeAndre Jordan, not the answer. They need guys who can switch. They need guys who can get into the passing lanes, get back in transition defense. You know, defense is their problem. They're 29th. Now, can they flip that Brooklyn pick? That's been a subplot of the entire season. But if you're looking at LeBron's free agency status, then the Cavs are probably more apt to hang on to that pick than let it go because they're worried about LeBron leaving. We get some comments coming in. Michael Aaron Petty tweets in or comments in on Facebook. Is KD now the best player in the NBA? What are your thoughts?
No, I think LeBron James is still LeBron James. I think KD is playing incredible, and he's the second guy there. But I think James's numbers are out of control again this year, despite what's around him. I don't think that you can say that it's not LeBron. He is the engine that pulls this train. Yeah,
I mean, I think people are always in a rush to say someone's better than LeBron.
That's so true.
He keeps coming back to prove that's not the case. Kevin Durant is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, imagine, people always talk about the players of yesteryear. Imagine dropping a 7-footer back then who could protect the rim and shoot from 35 feet out. It's insane. But he's also playing off of these other guys. I mean, if you think of just Thompson, Curry, and Durant, think about how much of the court the defense then has to cover to deal with 3 shooters of that ilk. Let LeBron play with Curry for a few games, and we'll see how he does.
So I'm interested, though, going back to what you said about them needing a center, and you would rather see them put guys on the perimeter there. We did see they had some pretty terrible transition defense last night, but that rim protector, I feel like that's missing. We hear a lot of DeAndre Jordan, like you mentioned. Gosh, after watching last night, I was thinking they should go get that West Virginia kid, Kanate, who was blocking all of those shots last night. That's another Achilles heel for them.
You know who I think their rim protector is? LeBron. I think you get those perimeter athletes, you go with a non-traditional lineup where LeBron's even playing center.
Move LeBron to 5.
Yeah, a lot of the time. His numbers as a rim protector are great. We saw him smack one of Curry's shots off the backboard again last night. We got more comments coming in. Mike Garza says, "La crybaby." I mean, that's all fun. You can do it if you want. I mean, I don't care. Call him a crybaby. But remember, for all the LeBron is the GM of the Cavs jokes, they did get rid of the GM that he vouched for over the offseason. And apparently, according to the latest reports, he was actually against the Kyrie Irving trade. That doesn't stop Fabian Blanchard from also sending in a comment, LeBron, a big spoiled baby. I don't know how this becomes about LeBron being a baby.
I do not understand that narrative. I will also say, Robin, something you need to know about me is that I think LeBron is perfect, and so I am never going to agree with anything anybody says bad about him, other than he's a little passive-aggressive, which is okay, because, like, who's not, right?
Zach Booth says LeBron to the Lakers next season. I'm sure some people in our newsroom agree with that. Well, the NBA is known for player movement. It has been a quiet offseason for baseball since the Stanton trade. However, yesterday, the Pirates sent the face of their franchise and former MVP Andrew McCutchen to the Giants. The Pirates clearly rebuilding, but San Francisco, who had the worst record in baseball, appears to be stocking up for a run after adding McCutchen and Evan Longoria. Is it a wise move for the Giants to go for one more, as they did go to the NLDS in 2016?
Yeah, I really like this move. I think it was a little bit surprising with McCutchen. We kind of thought he was going to be a Pirate for life, but I think he provides a lot of good things for them. He's coming off a couple of down years, but finished top 5 in MVP voting 4 out of the last 6 years. He provides them some great defense, another really solid outfielder. I know they want to shore up that outfield a little bit. And adding Longoria, who's going to be a great piece for them at third base. He had an incredible career in Tampa Bay. And McCutchen being going to be a free agent after this season, so this is really win now because he may not be there for more than a year. And what I think San Francisco can get maybe a little excited about, yes, they were 40 games out of first last year, but it's an even year, and so they either win or make the finals every even year. So I think you could be seeing some stuff out there.
Well, I'm glad for the players, because when you're at that stage in your career, you'd much rather go and try and win than be a part of a rebuilding project. As far as San Francisco, it's a big jump they have to make from last year to this year. Yes. Though baseball is the sport with perhaps the most variables at play. I mean, you can hit the ball well and still make it out, and that can happen to you bad luck over the course of a season. The NFL Conference Championship games are Sunday, and if you look at the quarterbacks, it is a game of one of these things is not like the others. But here's a look at how much of a difference there is between Tom Brady and the other QBs.
In the NFL, they say it's a quarterback-driven league, but this weekend's matchups feature 3 QBs who've never been here before. They also feature Tom Brady, but he's perfect, he's boring, we got it. This got us thinking about how we'd rank the other 3 quarterbacks, Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles. Robin, we know who's the best. Who is our number 2?
This was very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, luckily you don't have to worry about insulting Blake Bortles stands or something along those lines when you're putting together this list. At number 2, we have Case Keenum, and that's based off of the season he had this year. He definitely had the best season overall, of course, with the record the Vikings had. He completed nearly 70% of his passes, a great touchdown to interception ratio. I could argue against him saying we haven't seen enough of a sample to elevate him over some of these guys, but clearly, if we're basing it on this year, he was the second best QB in this group.
Oh, definitely. I think he has the highest upside out of these 3 guys in the lower out of the 3 not Tom Brady guys, we'll call them that. You know, he started his career a little slow. We weren't totally expecting this, but I think his success makes Jeff Fisher probably look pretty bad because he was hampered behind that Jeff Fisher offense, and now getting to have this Viking system and this coaching staff, he's absolutely blossomed, and I think he's got that big playability, and he doesn't make those mistakes. Like you mentioned, only 7 interceptions. He's taking care of the ball at those critical times. This team is good enough around him to go far if he takes care of the ball.
So if we get to the next on this list, and the choice is Nick Foles or Blake Bortles, who comes in at number 3?
I thought about this like all night long. I went back and forth, and I went back and forth, and for me, Bortles has the higher upside. We've seen a smaller sample size from him. Foles being in the league for 6 seasons, Bortles being there for 4. This is his first season under Doug Marrone, who's completely changed this entire Jacksonville team and has put Bortles in a better position to succeed. When I looked at these guys' numbers, Bortles over 4 years, Foles over 6. Career completion percentage, Bortles 59, Foles 60. Touchdown percentage, Bortles 4, Foles 4.4. Yards per completion, Bortles 11.3. Foles 11.7. The numbers are almost identical. So I think the difference here is that Bortles has that higher ceiling. I feel like I keep saying that, but he can get things done with his legs. We've seen him make a play when he needs to. What I asked myself is which one of these guys would scare me the most if I was counting on them in a critical moment. They both scare me a lot, but I think I would rather have Bortles, who has that opportunity to make a bigger play, where I don't know if I could see Foles doing that.
Of course, that means Foles comes in at number 4. He did have a season where he had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Will probably live forever at the top of Chip Kelly's resume, yes. I would bet. This is difficult because Foles may very well be better than Bortles, but Bortles has been starting consistently now, and the Jaguars finally got there. So if there's a tie, I'm going to give it to Bortles the way we did here because Foles sort of was parachuting in to a great spot. The Eagles were already the best team in the league. The question wasn't whether he could elevate them, it was whether he could keep them at that same level because everybody was upset about losing Carson Wentz. Now, despite some great games, NFL ratings took another hit this weekend with every single window being down from last year. And overall, it is expected to be the lowest rated divisional round since 2009. Do falling numbers with good games illuminate a real issue?
I think this is overblown. And one thing I was looking at was the last 6 years of conference championships, it doesn't dip below 44 million viewers. And that number may seem, that's on the low end. So if it dips below that this weekend, we may think, oh, something's going on. But to put it in perspective, the college football national championship this year had 28.4 million viewers, considerably less than that. That was a great game, and we thought that a lot of people were watching that. And these NFL numbers are way above and beyond. So maybe in comparison to NFL numbers, those may seem a little low, but in comparison nationally, I don't think that that's an issue.
Well, this would be great news for everybody else but the NFL. I mean, this is bad news only comparing it to itself. However, there was this air of invincibility about the NFL for a long time, and that has sort of been taken away a little bit. And you see some excuses being made. And look, I thought the ratings would be up this weekend because I really enjoyed Sunday's games in particular.
Oh, yeah.
But the streaming stuff and all these things that affect everyone are going to affect the NFL. We've seen NBA ratings go up, however, so I don't know if you can fall back on those sort of excuses at this point. There clearly is at least a trend where the NFL is no longer growing. The question is this the beginning of what you would see as a downward slide or just a natural thing that would happen when your numbers are that high? Yeah,
we're going to have to see when we look back long term what context this time is put in.
Yeah, it probably won't help to have Bortles, Foles, and Case Keenum involved. Here now with our college basketball analyst, Dan Green. And of course, Dan, two big road comebacks last night. We'll start in Miami, where Duke overcame a 13-point second-half deficit to top the Hurricanes. There have been some concerns about the Blue Devils, but did they show that they can win the ACC?
The best thing they showed last night was they committed to a 2-3 defense down the stretch. They went to that zone. They're traditionally a man team. Their defense has been what's been holding them back this year. They haven't defended as a championship caliber team. They've been slightly better in that zone, but they've been hesitant to fully embrace it. They went to that down the stretch, and that showed maybe a blueprint for how they might live up to some of those expectations and might be able to defend on the level that they'll need. They also got some big contributions from Gary Trent Jr. down the stretch, so that was another positive sign, just kind of a show of the kind of array of weapons that they have. But absolutely, I think they'll be right in it. The question is just whether they can defend enough to go on a real run in March and to win the ACC. I think we saw some signs of that last night, but they're going to have to do that consistently.
Well, Kansas also comes from behind to get a win, down 16 at West Virginia, a place where Bill Self has struggled recently. And Kansas, interesting year for them. They haven't been winning at home, which is very unusual. They get this really impressive win at a tough, annoying, physical West Virginia team. I think this shows a lot. I think that they have the resolve to go the long run after seeing this win. What do you see from this win, and what does it tell you about this team's opportunity in March?
I think it shows a lot about their character and that kind of moxie and grit that you need. They don't have some of the features that we're used to seeing from Kansas teams, that depth inside, that kind of interior scoring. They're very reliant on jump shooting. But what they did was they didn't get rattled. As you mentioned, that's a really tough place to play and an extremely tough defense to play no matter where you're playing West Virginia. They had a bunch of turnovers, I think 8 in the first 10 minutes, something like that. And they went down 16 in the first half. They're down 13 at halftime, and they clamped down on defense enough for their shooting to kind of get hot and Devontae Graham to come alive as a scorer. And so what that showed is that they're not going to, they're able to get down and come back, and they're able to withstand some of their weaknesses. And that's a big thing in this kind of Big 12 race where the Big 12 is so balanced and there's so many good teams. They're going to have to pick up some of these tough wins, and they showed last night that they can do it.
Now, staying in the Big 12, what has been perhaps the story of the season is Trae Young and his explosive play. He's got Oklahoma at number 4 in the top 25. You recently had a chance to spend some time with him. What did you learn about him?
I learned how well he's handling a lot of this, and we talked some about that and how he's able to do it. I was just curious, not only what he's able to do on the basketball court, but to handle all the attention and all the hype. And some of the big things is he's kind of been getting ready for this for a while. He was a big local star in Oklahoma. He's from Norman. And so a lot of this isn't totally new to him, as new as it seems to us, because he was putting up crazy numbers in high school. He knows a lot of NBA guys, both through the AAU circuit and from going to Thunder games. His dad has season tickets. His dad played at Texas Tech. He knows guys like Chauncey Billups and whatnot. So he's not really feeling too overwhelmed by this, and I think that's showing up on the court. He hasn't seemed to slow down or be hindered by this at all. And so that was what I was most impressed with, is just kind of how the clarity he has and the maturity that he's been able to display in handling all this so quickly.
Can he lead Oklahoma to its first national title in your mind?
I think he can. Anytime you have the best player on the floor, which when you're Oklahoma is going to be pretty much all the time, you definitely have a chance to go on a run. They also have better complementary scorers than I think people realize, Christian James, Brady Manick. But they're going to have to defend a little better. Both TCU games, they just kind of eked out. They were able to score enough to make up for some lapses in defense. TCU was up 5 with a couple minutes left on Saturday. And so that's what they're going to have to really do, because when we get to March, these games can slow down a little bit. Oklahoma gets out and runs, and they like to dictate the pace that way. If that's not happening, if the shots aren't falling, they're going to have to clamp down a little bit and maybe grind out games a little more than they've had to so far.
Let's talk Big Ten a little bit. We know the traditional powers, but Purdue, undefeated in the conference, 17-2 on the season, up to number 3 in the polls. Nobody's really talking about them. Why are people sleeping on Purdue?
Purdue is not one of those flashy big-name programs, and they don't have these flashy big-name players. They don't have these 5-star, one-and-done guys coming in there. But they're just a really good team. They defend well. They shoot really well. What Matt Painter's been able to do there, they lost the Big Ten Player of the Year, and this is in Caleb Swanigan, who was there last year. And this is not a team you think of as just being able to reload and keep going, but they have. And Isaac Haas and Vincent Edwards are a very good forward combination. Carson Edwards is probably one of the more underrated guards in the country. I think that's a name people are probably going to get to know as we get closer to March. But yeah, I think people are sleeping on them a little bit because they're Purdue, which I don't mean as a slight to them, but you automatically, a lot of attention gets paid to schools like Duke and Kansas and this and that. And then Oklahoma has Trae Young, so they have the Player of the Year so far, and West Virginia has this intimidating defense, and Purdue just kind of quietly goes out there and is just a really good, balanced basketball team. And yeah, they shoot, they defend, they don't turn the ball over, they don't foul much. They're going to be a player in the national conversation.
Thanks, Dan. We'll be talking more about Kansas and Duke and Trae Young and maybe Purdue as the season rolls along.
Don't sleep on Purdue. A new celebrity power couple has been born. Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick are dating. So that got us thinking, is this the best athlete power couple of all time? Robin, who you got?
I think this might be the answer. I mean, unless I can cheat and say when it comes to power, it's Triple H and Stephanie McMahon because they get to determine the outcome of what they're doing. It's this, because here you have a rare combination of greatness and groundbreaking. Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, and Danica Patrick, groundbreaking in what she was able to achieve when, we haven't seen female drivers reach that sort of notoriety that she did. So I don't think, and I was racking my brain trying to think of someone else, there was another couple that checks those kind of boxes.
So what I want to see is rings or titles or trophies. So I'm going Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf. The wins these guys have between them is insane. Agassi, of course, an eight-time major winner and also an Olympic gold medal. Steffi Graf, she's got 22 majors. She's putting him to shame. She also has a gold medal, and I think that this is my number one. I don't know how I could argue with this. Look at these guys, winners.
My argument would be that it doesn't span multiple sports. It's just in tennis. But I'm not that mad about it. I'm not going to go through a secret tunnel to find you and argue about this case. we'll settle there. I go with Danica and Aaron. You go with Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on SI Now. Of course, follow @SI Now Live on Twitter for the latest videos and updates.